It is so wonderful to be here with you on the Coach's Couch here at Inspired Coach Podcast. We have a really wonderful question that has come from a great coach and a listener of the podcast today that is particularly going to be helpful, I think, for those of you in startup stages or the more early stages of your coaching business. And if that's not you just yet, but you might like it to be in the future, it's going to be one that you can tuck away for a future time. So we have a question here on the couch today. I wish I was sitting next to her so we could have this conversation live, but you can't have everything in life, so I just have to roll with that. But this wonderful coach goes by the name of Claire Pestana, and you can find her at clairepestana.com. That's Claire spelled CLAIREPESTANA. And Claire on Instagram is the All Things Self Coach. You can find Claire on there. She's based in the UK. And this is Claire's question. When we start to sell ourselves and push ourselves out of comfort zones in our business, we are quickly met with a high level of people selling to us before we start getting clients through the door. When the financial pressure is on to get the clients and you know that you need to spend money to make money, how do you cut through the noise and focus and measure your spend most efficiently? Thank you, Claire, for this great question. Let's unpack it a little bit further. So while I know that you've not necessarily asked me about this in your question, I do first of all want to talk a little bit about the pressure that you mention and where that pressure might actually be coming from. Simply is something that I would love to encourage you to think about a little bit deeper, for no other reason than just sometimes things are just worth thinking about and unpacking a little bit more or a lot more, because they influence how we may be showing up in our work as coaches and in our businesses and in our lives, or how we might not be showing up. So let's talk about this pressure that you mentioned. And that pressure may actually be, or it might feel very real, but I guess the reason I want to talk about this for a moment is because pressure, whether it's coming from within or outside of you, say for example, pressure from other people telling you they want you to have more money, get more clients, etc., it can be really debilitating and impact our decision making. And so it's something that we need to be really mindful of. Now, of course, I don't know where this pressure, whether perceived or real, is coming from for you. But because you mention it in your question, I would just love to encourage you to have a little bit of a deeper look at that. Because there's no question that while, yes, pressure can make diamonds, as they say, and as is real, pressure can also really detract from our ability to feel grounded, like we can make positive decisions. It can feel like potentially we're being influenced by things in significant ways that don't feel good for us, and a whole lot of other things besides. So I'd love to just encourage you and anybody else that might be feeling so-called pressure to get clients, to make money, to have a look at, well, where is that pressure coming from? Is it coming from me? Is it coming from other people? Is it something that's coming from me because I'm comparing myself to other coaches or people? Where might it be coming from? And what might that pressure be telling me? and influencing me to do or not do when it comes to my decisions in my business? Okay, so that's just where I wanted to start today with this great question of yours. I also think, before we fully dive into your question about efficient spend of money, that it's worth saying, especially if you're not mindful of what newsletters you subscribe to or what services you follow or engage with on social media, that when it comes to the selling, promotion, marketing aspects of online business, that we can all be met with selling and offers to engage with services at any stage of our business life. It is not just when we start up. So I know that, or you're intimating and saying, which I know is very real for you, that you're feeling, a bit bombarded and like there's a lot of this in the startup stage. Well, the thing is that there's a lot of it at any stage of business, not just startup. But I can appreciate that maybe in the startup phase, it can feel more overwhelming, particularly for those of us who might have never started or owned a business before. And I also think it's important to say that this in and of itself is not necessarily a bad or not okay thing. People, as you know, have a right to make offers in places like their newsletters, just like you do or I do. And the only way that any of us really, if we think about the bigger picture of this, actually get to engage with social media for free. Of course, there are elements of it that you can pay for through advertising. But believe me when I tell you, the only reason that we're able to engage with those platforms for free is because people are engaging on them, promoting their businesses as coaches and service providers on there, and successfully doing so. So we need to keep that in mind. And so again, these things are not bad per se. They're just a reality of being in business and also being consumers as well. But of course, what is in our control is what we allow ourselves to see. And so if you are being, say, I'm not sure whether the right word is flooded, but if you're being flooded or overwhelmed or feeling like when you're on certain things like reading newsletters and in your inbox, or you're on social media and you're just being bombarded or flooded or overwhelmed with offers and selling and things like that, and it's creating confusion for you, then please exercise your right to unsubscribe, to unfollow, and really get tighter with the curation of what it is that you allow into your space. Knowing, of course, that at varying different times, anyone that we follow, including coaches that we may be inspired by, will sell at different times and then not at others. I know for me, I receive newsletters from people that I absolutely love, and if I know that they're in a promotion mode, but that promotion or offering that they have is not for me, I just won't open those emails in that time, and I will come back to them at another time. And then other times, of course, I'm very interested in potentially purchasing something, so I do. But we have to remember that the power is always with us about what we let into our field. And so keep that one in mind as well. So in saying all of that, Claire, I do get what it is that you're asking here. And so let's look more closely at talking about your best spend of money to make money as a coach, okay? Now, please know, as always here on Inspired Coach Podcast, the following is just my opinion and based on my experience, 20 plus years experience now, but still it's just my opinion, and not everyone will necessarily agree with these things. But I've coached a lot of startup coaches one-on-one and also in group settings, and this is where I think your best focus of spend is. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is websites, okay? I really genuinely do believe that an excellent website is an absolute must to attract really great clients towards you in a coaching business. Now, what I mean by that is not necessarily one that costs tens of thousands of dollars. Don't get me wrong about that. It's not necessarily how much the website costs at all. And it also does not have to be entirely bespoke and not use a template. Don't get me wrong about that either, because there's nothing wrong with those. And there are many, many wonderful templates that are out there to use and can make a gorgeous, gorgeous website. But what I'm talking about is a website, no matter how much it costs and whether it uses a template or not, one that is beautifully, clearly, and cleanly laid out. The branding, which includes the colors, the font, and the professional photography, all blends together beautifully and seamlessly. And the copy on your website, which is incredibly important for client attraction, is authentic, engaging, and it clearly appeals to your ideal client. So when they land on your website, they feel seen, they feel inspired, they feel motivated into action, whether it be initially to sign up to your newsletter or follow you on social media or reach out to you for the potential of a discovery call and working together. I really do believe that these things are absolutely imperative as an entire collective. And if there is any one or more parts of those that are not fully up to scratch for you or for someone or working, that's where I recommend that you spend money first. Many people write copy themselves on their websites, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but you might need the services, for example, of a copywriter to help you. This does not necessarily mean that you have to pay them thousands of dollars to write all the copy on your website. I know some wonderful copywriters that have templates that you can purchase to guide you. So again, I want to be careful here that when I'm talking about spending money, I'm not necessarily talking about spending, say, for example, in inverted airy quotes, top dollar. There are many, many ways that we can do this in more economical ways. And of course, what is economical is relative, because what is affordable and economical for one person is not necessarily for someone else. So we have to remember that. But please don't misinterpret me and think that I'm saying that you have to go out and work one-on-one at very, very high cost. The spend of money is not about how much money. I'm just kind of guiding and offering you my thoughts on where things are best spent. How much you spend is completely up to you. Now, the next thing that I would look at as far as spend is concerned, and I think this one is sometimes overlooked. For some people it's not, but it can be overlooked, is to have a look at anything in your, not just business, but also your life as well, that you possibly could spend money on, or it may also end up just being your time and effort and energy and not money at all, or only a very little amount of money, that will help you ensure that you're carving out the necessary ongoing time that you can to work on your business and client attraction. Because you cannot expect those things to happen organically if you don't actively and ongoingly work on them. But if time and things in life just constantly feel like they're always getting in the way, and your business is always coming second, third, 57th last, anything like that, then this is something to look at spending money on so you can really get that time for yourself. Now, this might include, but not be limited to, things like an excellent calendar system or booking system to see you maximizing your time. It could also, and be organized. It could also be things like really great apps, books, and online systems that can help and support you with that. Different things work for different people, but exploring that, and I think spending some money on those things to make them work for you is a very good spend of money. Because here's the thing, ultimately we can spend lots of money potentially on extra things like coaching, whether that be one-on-one or in group, to help grow our businesses, and I am going to talk about that in a moment. But if we're not then implementing what we're learning, what we're growing into, what we're wanting to have happen, for reasons like we don't have enough time or we can't get a consistent, whatever that means for each of us, run on getting things happening and done, then spending money on things like coaching or group programs or masterminds to a certain extent will be a waste of money. Because if you don't then implement things, you have to ask yourself the question, well, why? What's the point? That's not an efficient spend of money. And then the next thing, which can be incredibly helpful, and again, there are ways to do this by spending money. There are also potentially ways to do this that are very powerful where you don't have to spend money, but you spend instead effort, energy, and time. And I know those things, time is money, all of that sort of stuff, but it is a different thing than actually, outlaying dollars. So the next thing is, and the final thing that I want to mention is, if you need it, you feel you need it consciously, and you feel really empowered in making the decision, working with a really great business coach, consultant, mentor, either one-on-one or in a group, can be a great thing to do and a great thing to spend money on to help you. Now, it is very important for me to say that this is, of course, not compulsory or required or expected. But if you find the right coach, the right experience, the right group, it can be really life and business changing and elevating in the ways that you want it, in so many different ways. Please make sure, if any of you want to, you, Claire, or anybody else want to explore this, that you do your homework and you research and you choose someone who really, really does focus on startups as a business coach or business guide, or wherever it is that you happen to be in your business journey. There is no point joining something that is targeted to much more advanced business owners if that is not you and not where you are. It can sometimes, be appealing to think about being in an experience where people are well ahead of you, and you can certainly learn a lot from them in doing that, but it will likely then also mean that you do not get the best and most tailored support for you. And you know what? If we're going to be spending money, then we want to get the best and most tailored support for ourselves that we possibly can. So I really encourage you to do your homework and research there. Now, please know that I have been a part of one of these myself. I have known clients to be a part of one of these, and known other people, just as acquaintances and coaches in the industry that I know, that have been a part of peer groups that do not and have not cost them anything, but they have come together with a like-minded, at similar stage group of coaches and people on a very committed, regular basis. And those experiences have been incredible and cost nothing other than commitment, energy, effort, organisation to get them together. You can come together both online and maybe even in person to talk about what you're working through in your business, where you need help and support, how you can witness each other, what you can do to help and support each other in so many different ways. And so, don't underestimate the power of bringing together or being a part of starting a group like that, because they can be truly, truly life-changing and business-changing for people as well. And as I said, not cost any money at all, but they require commitment. The only way they work is if people do not make excuses and they are all in, like absolutely and 100% all in. So Claire, I hope those suggestions are helpful for you. Of course, what it is that we can spend money on in startup stages in our businesses as coaches is infinite. There are so many things that we can spend money on and guide our money to. And sometimes that spend might have an amazing return for us. Other times it might be somewhere in the middle, and other times it might not have been the right thing. And I think we've all probably been there. I know I have, in all of those scenarios at different times. But do good research, homework, exploration around those things that I have mentioned today. I truly do believe that all three of them can make a significant difference as a startup. And I wish you all the best with just exploring this further for yourself, as well as what I was talking about at the beginning of today's episode on the couch here about the pressure that you mentioned, and also about selling and promotion and marketing, which is, well, for some of us, we might not necessarily want it to be, is a part of being a coach. And maybe that's another episode for a future time to talk about that in more detail. But Claire, thank you for bringing this question to the Coach's Couch today. In doing so, I know that you will have inspired and offered so many other coaches at a similar stage so much inspiration and hopefully a little bit of guidance as well through what I've shared. Thank you so much, everyone. So great to be here with you on the couch.